Comparison is the thief of joy. Why am I bringing this up now at a time where there doesn't seem to be any joy? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. Turn notifications on. If you want to go leave a review where reviews are left, you're welcome to. You know that I'm just happy that you're here. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Are we in DB heaven? It's happening maybe more quickly than people expected, but it seems to be on the precipice of happening. What do I mean? Third segment. How to approach the remainder of the season. There's a specific way that I believe is the best. I'll discuss that. And most importantly, at this time, there's a lot of angst amongst Cardinals fans. There's a lot of, same old Cardinals. The Stockholm Syndrome is back. A lot of, get Drew Petzing out of here. Get Kyler Murray out of here. Why do they pay James Conner when the team is a wreck? Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bust. Blah, 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 blah. And while it hasn't been an ideal last 3 weeks, and while there are some definite, oh boy, if this continues, we're going to have some issues talking about this team situations. I think it's important right now, at least, to kind of discuss the old adage that comparison is the thief of joy. And I've never been called, I haven't been called a homer ever hosting this podcast or during my 10 years in sports radio in Phoenix. And it just is coming out in droves over the last week or 2 weeks. Oh, you're a Kyler Murray homer. You're not watching what's going on. You can't see what's happening. If you want to take a little time out of your day, go back and listen to some podcasts from 2016 to 2019. Go back and listen to 2021 when they're 7-0. And I'm like, something's up. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Comes with the territory. I think that it's very important, though, to take a second and just look at the great things that are happening around this team. And a lot of them are surprises. A lot of them are surprises. And with those surprises come long-lasting positive effects on the innards, the intestines of this team, of this roster. I'm going to talk about the DBs in the last segment. I could talk about Garrett Williams and Max Melton and Daedrian Taylor-Demerson and Budda Baker all day long. All day. While Kyler Murray hasn't played great, and while there could be questions at the end of the season, I still think it's very premature. What more do you need to see? He can't win the big game. Got it. I hear you. The hundreds of comments on Twitter, the DMs I've gotten, the comments on YouTube, I hear you and I understand. The inner just angst inside while watching the Cardinals lose 3 in a row. I get it. And I understand because I was the one who said it, that Kyler Murray was the sole reason the Cardinals lost this past week. You can't throw 2 interceptions, give teams short fields. Oh, but the defense gave up touchdowns. Yeah, they just got off the field twice. There is a cause and effect to offensive output or lack thereof. We saw it from 2019 to 2022. With all of that, with all of the negativity, with all of the, there goes the season, there have been some massive strides this year in specific areas. Like the defense is a pass rusher or two away from being top 5 for the next 5 years. All of the impact guys are young except for Budda Baker. All of them. And he's still like, he's not 40. He's not 30. The Arizona Cardinals are in an exponentially better situation now than they were at the start of the season. Regardless of outcome, and yes, it comes down to wins and losses. It comes down to coaching. It comes down to offensive play calling. It comes down to leadership. It comes down to quarterback play. I know. And the Cardinals are an exponentially better team now than they were when the season started. Exponentially. So while looking at other teams in the NFC West that are leaping over the Cardinals at this point of the season, that are leaping over the Cardinals in the standings, whether it's in the NFC West or the Minnesota Vikings or the Eagles or whatever it is, comparing the Cardinals' journey, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, comparing the Cardinals' journey to any other organization is a fool's errand. You got to keep up with them. The NFC West, sure, you can have a conversation about it, but the Cardinals were in the Mesozoic era regarding their roster at the end of the 2022 season. And I'm sorry that they didn't play so poorly this year that it wasn't, hammered home that 2025 was the year that they were going to come back into prominence. They exceeded expectations for the majority of this season. And they're still a flawed roster. Looking at the positives from this year, and I don't force things here. I treat you like adults. If it was bad all year, I'd be talking bad all year, and I'd probably lose viewership and lose spot. I don't care. I give you what I believe to be the truth. I'm not going to say things just because they're easier on your eardrums to hear. You already got to look at me. So thank you for that. Powering through that. Oh, quickly, I know there's a little concern. I washed this beanie. I love this beanie. I've gotten some comments and DMs about my beanie that, hey, you can't buy Locked On stuff, okay? This is like a trophy of mine, and it covers my big dumb head. And I wash it. It doesn't smell. I wash it. I promise. Anyways, this season, even if they don't make the playoffs, has already in so many instances been a success. I don't care what other teams are doing. They're not the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals have zero direct effect and vice versa on what the Cardinals do between the lines during practice and in locker room. Zero. The Cardinals have $120 million to spend. They got all their draft picks. And the majority of their very good players are on their rookie scale contract or are going to get team-friendly-ish deals. I'm looking more at Kazir White. We'll see what happens with Budda Baker. He's going to get paid, and the Cardinals should pay him. Another huge bonus, another huge positive from this year is seeing Budda Baker be in his element and just be able to play his position and not have to cover for 6 others because there's no talent there. You're seeing the true power of Budda Baker, even at the age he's at. And that's a win. Comparison is the thief of joy. The Cardinals have many positives this season, and they can't get overlooked. Now, with that, how do you approach the rest of the season mentally as a Cardinals fan? I'll give my thoughts next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Listen, I know that last segment could look like fluff. It's not, man. There's so many things. There's so many positives. And I'm an eternal realist, not eternal optimist, not eternal, pessimist. I'm an eternal realist. And especially with how in flux the NFC West is, even though the Cardinals, are now in third, looking at this season, the Cardinals still have an incredible trajectory for the future. And I promise you this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a moratorium on, get rid of Kyler. Stop it. Until the end of the year, at least, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to talk about 2024, some future pacing stuff for players who 100% will be here, rookies and etc. And that's it. I don't think looking that far in advance is prudent at this point. With that said, maybe a little bit of advice on how to approach the remainder of the season. You're adults. You think as you wish. I'm here to provide information, and you do with it as you wish. First of all, the Cardinals aren't out of the playoffs. 100%. They're not. I mean, this isn't like crazier things have happened, like by a long shot. Okay? The interesting part is they now may be closer in line to the 7 seed to make the playoffs than winning the division crown. Okay. I would approach the remainder of the 2024 season as such. Get 2 wins, revisit. I'll put it to you this way. And I'm doing crossover Thursday with Mike Debate from Locked On Patriots tomorrow. Really excited. One of my buddies been doing this a long time, just like me. Get 2 wins, then let's regroup. They've had trouble with Carolina pretty much forever. They've had trouble with Carolina pretty much forever. But get a win against New England. Seattle has Green Bay and Minnesota back-to-back. We'll see what happens with the 49ers. We'll see what happens with the Rams, but you got to run your own race here. I know the Cardinals need to win, pretty much win out, and Seattle needs to lose 3 games for the Cardinals to overtake them in the NFC West. If the Cardinals win out, that's 10-7. That's a win, even if they don't make the playoffs. So this is, yes, it's like, okay, this is the best way I can think about it. It's like the Cardinals you want the Cardinals to be raw pasta, okay? And it's slowly the pot's boiling. You start to see the raw pasta go into the hot water, starting to curl. And you just see, like, as it slowly stays on the stovetop, it slowly starts to dwindle. There's less raw pasta. Okay. So we're starting to see the raw pasta turn into cooked pasta or al dente pasta. You want it to stay raw. So with every loss, it just dips into the pot. That's what you come here for. The real hard-hitting stuff. I know that it's starting to get more and more unlikely that the things everybody wants to happen will happen. I understand that. So it's easy for me to take the out where it's like, okay, let's just discuss this because this is the only possible way for the Cardinals to get in the playoffs. I get all that. It just happens to be true. With that, they've got a favorable next 2 weeks. We're going to know everything in the next 2 weeks. We've known things the last 3 weeks. If the Cardinals lose the next 2 games, I will lift the moratorium. Okay? I promise you that. But going into Sunday, home against the Patriots, going into week 16, on the road against Carolina, is much improved. Okay? Sure. If the Cardinals win those 2 games, we're having a different conversation. Okay? That means they're 8-7. They've smashed projections, and they've got 2 divisional games that will determine not only how this season wraps up, but also how it sets up for next season. Because unlike last year, winning games didn't help anything. It's funny. Like if Matt Prater would have made that kick, the Cardinals have Joe Alt at right tackle and not Marvin Harrison Jr., which is a trip to think about. Because they would have picked 5th and not 4th. But people said, going into last year's offseason, get momentum. No, why? Stop. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. They already showed their proof of concept last year. Everything's fine. This year, You want to win as many games as possible. Drafting 15th and drafting 18th doesn't matter. It's like, who cares? Go win games. So for the rest of the season, first of all, hoping they lose is, I don't understand why anybody would do that. Number two, there's a lot of constructive information that we're going to get watching them, especially with how the analytics would expect these next 4 games to go. I think 2-2 is the absolute worst it could be. You'd hope 3-1. You'd be out of the park if they go 4-0. If they go 4-0 and still miss the playoffs, that means they won 2 tough divisional games in week 17 and week 18. And they're a tiebreaker from not making the playoffs. You'll take a 10-win season with this roster. If they go 1-3, if they go 2-2, if they go 1-4, we're going to have different conversations, okay? But how to approach the remainder of the season, what I would suggest is cherish it. Root for them, like I know you will. Watch the young guys produce. Watch the offensive line bounce back, you'd hope, after their worst 2 to 3 weeks of the season. And really start to watch what this young core is capable of and what they're doing this year without a pass rush. Watch Marvin Harrison Jr. probably wow 2, 3, 4 more times this year, 5 more times this year. And while it's not perfect, and while it's not this year, this next month of games is paramount for the building and growth of the future. I know it's not perfect. I know losing 3 games in a row, right, coming out of their bye and losing it the way they have isn't great. I get it. There's a lot of finger pointing going around. I implore you to be more existential while watching games and be like, you know what? That was a really good play by Garrett Williams. That was a really good play by Max Melton. Man, Adrian Taylor-Demerson really stuck that guy. Man, Yalta Furlholt is deepening this pocket for James Conner and Kyler Murray to operate. Man, Paris Johnson Jr. bounced back after his 2 worst games as a pro. Man, Trey McBride may be the best tight end in football. That's it. Because we don't know what's going to happen the next month, obviously. What we do know is the best players on the Cardinals roster are going to play like it. So appreciate it, enjoy it, and we'll see what the hell happens. With that, are we in DB heaven? Have the Cardinals finally found a secondary that isn't a liability? Yeah, we'll discuss it next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks and is completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying for by going to jointbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's jointbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards points today. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at Ice Shaker. I got mine in the mail. It's an Arizona Cardinals one. It is sleek. It is like, I didn't know what they look like when we got the copy. I got one sent to me. I'm like, and I looked it up online. I'm like, holy mackerel. Locked on Cardinals fans. I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list is, let's just say, far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and Major League Baseball, and will be the ideal gift for your loved ones. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers have sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout for 25% off your order. Order your team branded bottle today at iceshaker.com. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers. Show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shaker. So, yeah, this may be one of my more woo-woo episodes. I think this is the first one you can consider that. But I think it's important, especially with the ups and downs that everyone's experienced this year, that there are a lot of positives to take away. And yeah, this may be, that's maybe more better way to say it. This is like the biggest green ribbon I've ever given, even all through last year, where it was all the cliches I've used, future pacing and flashbulb memories and things like that for rookies. It's 6 and 7 isn't great. And when for everydayers you've listened for a long time, well, this year specifically, my moniker for a successful season for 2024 was, you say it to yourself, I'll give you a second, being on that in the hunt overlay in week 15, week 14, week 15. And they are. It's a successful season. How we got here wasn't exactly how we expected to get here watching this team. And there are some big question marks in very serious positions and coaching spots. I don't think that they're question marks that turn into termination of any kind. And I also think it's just something that got to be monitored. If I told you that the Cardinals were 6 and 7 going into week 15, the majority of you would be like, oh, wow, nice. So while expectations shifted after they moved to 6 and 4 going into their bye week, that 4-game winning streak, like this team has been a Jekyll and Hyde all year. And you can attest some of that to the quarterback play, some of that to the defense, some of that to the offensive line, some of that to the play calling. Sure. And if I told you when the season started, the Cardinals would be 6 and 7 through week 14, you'd be like, okay, cool. I'll take that. Building blocks for the future. It's just interesting that people forget that so quickly. Garrett Williams and Max Melton have been a vision. And it's interesting. So Max Melton, all these numbers are now coming out with the 33rd team posted something. Pro Football Focus does it. Like Max Melton has been an excellent corner this year. And when you look at it, like for the big picture, imagine what Max Melton and Garrett Williams would be like with a pass rush, where they don't have to cover for at times 3, 4, 5 seconds. Imagine that. You found your CB1, CB2 for the future. Elijah Jones is now healthy again, the rookie third-round pick out of Boston College. We'll see if he can be a third. Like, what if in 2 drafts, not off seasons, drafts, Monty Osborne completely fixed the DB problem in Arizona that has been plaguing this organization? Let's put a period there. There haven't been 2 competent corners on the Arizona Cardinals since 2014 when Antonio Cromartie was here for 1 year. I think it was 2014. Antonio Cromartie was here for 1 year with Patrick Peterson. That's it. That's 10 years ago. And the fascinating part, the really fascinating part is, lest we forget, and I'm here for you. I'm trying to center this, dude. When I do the camera, it's opposite. Super squirrel today. Lest we forget, Monty Osborne traded back in the 2nd round and passed on Cooper DeJean, who has been statistically the best corner this year. They also have an incredible front 7. So it'd be interesting to see if you swapped Max Melton and Cooper DeJean, if it would be the same output. And passed on. So he traded back. It went, I believe, in this order. It went Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Kamari Lassiter. Bingo, bango, bongo. So all the 3 corners that you thought you'd get 4 picks from now were all gone. So I don't think Monty Osborne would have done that if he wanted one of those 3 guys. So you look at Garrett Williams and you look at Max Melton and you look at no pass rush and you look at that output and you look at Budda Baker really being able to play in his own free safety. You look at Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, who's played very well as a rookie. Jalen Thompson may be the odd man out unless they find, if they play him somewhere else. If he plays slot corner, like he's done a little bit of that in his time here. Like you could be looking at Budda Baker and then 3 other players who are making pennies and producing incredibly if they build on this year and if the Cardinals add, talent on defense like they will. It is a very, very quick overhaul from what was the weakness of the Cardinals team to one of the strengths. So while I know all the noise, the losses the last 3 weeks, and everything else can cloud the overarching look of what's going on, it's working. It's working. And it's working with those two corners on an island without pass rush. This defense could be incredibly scary at the start of next season. Couple that with the offense. We'll be having very, very serious, deep playoff run conversations about the Arizona Cardinals next season. Again, I know it's not perfect. I know it's been ugly of late. But how you do the little things is how you do everything. And how Monty Osborne is building this roster has looked to be masterful thus far. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no Me Crossover Thursday with Mike Debate of Locked on Patriots tomorrow. Talk to you then.